Well. Good evening to everybody. I'm Ryan alongside Caleb here, Michigan Storm Chasers. It's been a while since our last live stream that we've done, probably over a month, it seems like, at least 3 weeks. We're back on here for our Monday night weekly live stream here, experimenting with Monday night as Sunday night football's on. A lot of people are not interested in watching streams, so a bit different format here. We're going to try out, see how we do. So if you guys enjoy this, smash the like button for us. We would appreciate that. If you're new here, this is not a severe weather coverage stream like we usually do. This is a weekly stream we do typically every week, Sundays usually, but now on Monday, we're going to talk about the week ahead. Also going to pinpoint tomorrow potential for a stronger storm or two, possible, low chance. We're going to talk about this. Let's go ahead and dive in here and break it down. But before we do that, pop up the chat here. Let's read some comments. We got Dawn, Fordo, Kevin, Julie. What's up, guys? Got Nancy, Jack, Smith, Brenda, and Pam. What's up, guys? Got Drew in here as well. Good evening to all of you. Let's go ahead and dive in first and foremost for the temperature forecast based out of central Michigan. We have this cool graph we use called a meteogram. It is based out of Lansing. We do have a temperature graph the next 10 days or so. We're looking at high temperatures today, that first graph there, firmly at 66. We are not looking at much higher temperatures. It's a pretty cool day out there. As you guys probably know by now, it's a fall type day, cloudy, cool, pleasant weather. Going into tomorrow, though, we're going to rebound back into the low 70s, especially midweek. We're going to be firmly in the mid 70s, 74 stat, all the way pretty much across Michigan. It's probably going to vary a degree or two from location to location, but based on Lansing here, expect temperatures right around that 72 to 75 range into that weekend time frame before we cool back off to start next week. So overall, pretty solid week upcoming. We do have some rain chances, perhaps some storm chances to talk about. First chance is up tomorrow morning early, looking at the GFS model. In fact, let's go ahead and use the ARRR model since we are in that short range period. Let's go ahead and take a look at the radar forecast here, future radar potential. Looking at how this is going to evolve, we're seeing some rain off to our south and west. We're going to see that move up into our area as early as 4 or 5 in the morning. Could start to see some showers, perhaps a rumble of thunder mix in here. As a result, we do have a general thunderstorm category in effect from the SPC along the 94 corridor up until 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. So overall, we don't expect much activity before 8 a.m., but we could have some lingering showers moving in to that early time frame to start your Tuesday. As we get into Tuesday morning, late morning into early afternoon, coverage will increase. This is at 9 a.m. here. Looking at West Michigan in a pretty solid band of rain. And then looking at the afternoon tomorrow, we're looking very closely at the South Michigan along the 94 corridor, in particular, Southeast Michigan. I'll show you guys here in a second, but keep an eye on these storms down here in Indiana. We're seeing some potential for a stronger storm or two that may try to sneak up into Southeast Michigan as we get into the late afternoon, perhaps early evening time frame. Models are kind of split right now where they're going to put that. Most of the models say it stays to our south, but there's just one or two models are kind of pinpointing that kind of sneak it up in there, a few counties. So as a result, we're going to watch Southeast Michigan in particular closely, probably after 4 p.m. tomorrow. Between, I was going to say 4 and 9 p.m. would be a good time frame to watch. Overall, not a very high concern, but if we can sneak some instability up into Southeast Michigan, it would then become a concern. Going back to the rain here, looking at the forecast, we're going to see rain start to move out as we get into the overnight on Wednesday. Just some lingering showers, should I say Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. And as we get into Wednesday, most of that rain will be done by the time we get toward the late morning period. So just some lingering showers overnight Tuesday. Going back to the environment for Tuesday, here is your overlap of wind shear as well as instability, two of the ingredients we need for severe weather. We're seeing it's mainly going to stay to our south here. There's your environment across Indiana and Ohio, but notice how the later we get in the afternoon, it does try to sneak up, in particular, Hillsdale, Lenawee, Monroe, perhaps Washtenaw, Wayne County there as well. And then that continues to push off to the east as that low pressure moves off to the east. So it should be a pretty short window for anything strong if anything were to happen. And overall, it's a very low chance, but again, just watching it just to be safe. The NAM3 has a similar story. Here's the radar in the NAM3 looking at how it's going to evolve. Tuesday morning, some showers working up into the state. We're going to see a more heavier batch, perhaps around the early afternoon, perhaps late morning time frame. And as we get into Tuesday afternoon, we have some of these cells popping up across northern Indiana, northern Ohio, South Michigan, and then that'll be the ones to watch for anything strong. Overall, again, not a very high concern. But if we were talking about severe weather, it'd be in the form of damaging winds. I don't really think it's a very high tornadic risk at this point. But overall, there is some spin there in the atmosphere. We're going to warrant attention. But overall, not a very high concern. Here's the MAM3 model with the environment. It does show, again, Lenawee, Monroe, perhaps Washtenaw, Wayne, Hillsdale counties as your best bet. So, overall takeaway, rain tomorrow, a stronger storm potentially across the Ohio border area. Most of the state of overall rain totals tomorrow also will be scattered. It's not going to be a soaking widespread rain, but we are going to see a little bit of swaths, so to speak, or perhaps some heavier rainfalls. We have pinpoint little pinpricks of about a half inch of rain, perhaps a bit more than that in spots. We get heavier rains. Most of us, though, will stay between about a tenth and probably 3/10 of an inch around that period, around that amount, especially there in south central Michigan. The further north you go, the less rain you get, but you still should see some rain at some point tomorrow. Going past Tuesday for your midweek forecast, going back to the temperatures, we see the mid 70s return. They stick around until our next chance of rain, which comes for the weekend. Now, some uncertainty still exists here. We're watching some tropical system or some tropical developments to our south currently, and the exact track on that will dictate exactly what we're going to look for the weekend. Overall, I know a lot of you guys are going to ask, we're going to see severe weather, a lot of rain. The answer is, I think it's all on the table at this point, but we're not going to know for several more days. So to play it by ear, at the very least, I can say, I think Saturday and Sunday, prepare for rain, but don't say it's a for sure thing just yet. And we talked about severe weather. I mean, this time of season, it's kind of hard to get severe weather, but overall, I'm not going to rule that out just yet. Again, wait a few more days for it to play out. We'll have a much better idea come midweek or so. All right. Overall, a very pleasant week upcoming for the state, minus Tuesday tomorrow. It should be a pretty dry week, some sunshine for a majority of us come midweek, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then it kind of starts clouding over again with this tropical system moving up our way come for the weekend. Outside of that, that's your forecast for the week. I want to mention very briefly here the SPC day two outlook. We do have that level 1 severe risk sitting just off to our south. That's going to be curious to see what they do here at the 2 a.m. update, if they're going to move that further north or not. But overall, I think it's well placed from SPC, but it is about 50 miles away from the border. So it's very close to us. It's just not in Michigan. And overall, that concern is going to be for damaging winds. You can see that to our south here in the brown shaded area. There's also a 2% tornado risk sitting off to the south as well. So no hail threat tomorrow for Indiana and Ohio. So it's just going to be a wind, perhaps a brief spin up tornado type of threat to our south. And if that does work its way north for South Michigan as well. But again, it's far from a for sure thing. All right. Looking at the long-term forecast, looking at the Climate Prediction Center, we are going to be well above average here in 6 to 10 day forecast release has Michigan well above average in terms of temperatures. Looking at the 8 to 14 day, we're seeing those well above average temperatures continue. And then as we get into the 1 month outlook, we are going to be near normal or close to equal chances for a majority, or not a majority, but for some of Michigan, it's kind of split there. But overall, the probability is lower for October as we move into. It's hard to believe we're almost to October, but we're 8 days away from October. It's hard to believe how quickly September is gone. But overall, expect a near normal October, perhaps leaning warmer. As we get into that 3 month outlook, the winter forecast overall, not the winter forecast, but the late fall, early winter forecast, looking about, again, above average, leaning above average, but equal chances also exist. Looking at the, I don't think we have the winter forecast yet, but the winter forecast does lean above average as well in terms of temperatures. So we'll keep an eye on that and have an update. We'll have a winter forecast here pretty soon as well for you guys to mull over. We're going to work on that here over the next several days. We should have one out by October. So bear with us on that one. But overall, above average temperatures continue. Now remember, as we go into October here, the average temperature is declining rapidly as we get to October. So the average temperature, what was average back in July, say an 80-degree temperature in July, 81 would be above average. Well, October, we're going to say 70 degrees is the average, 71 is above average at that point. So we're declining here into the fall season. One last thing to talk about here. We do have the drought update for you guys. We do have a moderate and also a severe drought. It's hard to believe, but yes, we do have mostly moderate drought up in the UP. We have some abnormally dry areas also in the UP, northern lower, some Bay City, Tri-City areas, as well as the 94 corridor. There's a very small sliver of Monroe and Lenawee County in a severe drought right by the Ohio border, Lambertville, Riga areas. You guys live in Lenawee, Monroe counties. So those particular areas are in that severe drought category range. So overall, with the rain upcoming, this should help, but it's not going to be a widespread soaking rain. So I would not expect this to have much impact on the drought conditions here in Michigan. That's all I got to share with you guys. So if you guys got questions, feel free to drop those in chat. It's been a while since we've been on stream here. So if you guys want to talk, ask questions, the chat is yours. One thing I will mention as well, we have started a new page called Michigan Weather Now. So if you guys, most of you guys follow us for severe weather forecasts. Some of you guys like seeing daily forecasts, weekly forecasts that are non-severe. That's where it's going to be posted at over on this new page. The problem we've been having in the past is people tell us to stick to severe weather coverage on the page. So we're just going to try and make everybody happy here. We're trying to expand as well. So if you guys want, we're going to say fair weather forecasts. You can find them over here at Michigan Weather Now. Bus stop forecast as well going to be a thing over there. So overall, feel free to check it out. Follow it if you guys are interested. If not, completely okay. But we do have forecasts. Our very first forecast went out this morning. Looks like this. So feel free to give it a follow. We'd also divide the state into 4 sections: West Michigan, East Michigan, Northern Lower, and then the UP as well. So it takes the average overall. So feel free to check that out. Completely optional, free to follow. Let's go ahead and pop open chat here. Oh, not much going on tonight, Christina. This is a weekly stream. We do it every week. Although past couple of weeks have been missed. I've been sick, laryngitis, strep, pink eye, the whole 9. So I have been out of commission for the past 14 days. So there haven't been streams the past 2 weeks. What winter weather alerts will you go live for? So we will do briefings for most all winter storms. We're not going to go live and cover them like we do severe weather. It's boring, if we're being honest. Snow is more widespread, long duration, not really impactful. As far as life-threatening, of course, it can be dangerous if you're out on the road, stuff like that. So obviously take your precautions. But there's not much we can do here behind a camera when they're snowing for 8 hours straight, So, but do expect briefings and information on upcoming storms. We'll post forecasts and stuff like that. Absolutely. The tornado risk for Ohio is a 2%. Any concerns in Belleville? Very, 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 very small concern. We'll have updates on the page probably either late tonight or tomorrow morning on that. Overall, I do think it's going to stay to the south. And if it does creep into Michigan, Belleville's still a little bit further north than what I would expect these storms to get to. If you're close to 94 there, I'd be alert, but overall, I wouldn't be overly concerned. That tornado was interesting yesterday in Indiana. Yes, we saw that axe. It was a surprise for sure. We had a couple landspouts as well as 2 confirmed tornadoes. One EFU near, help me out, Caleb.
Just outside Pennville, between Pennville and Portland in Jay County, Indiana.
Yeah. So one was an EF1, almost EF2 tornado, 1 mile per hour shy of EF2 status. And the other one was an EFU, which is unknown, just found track in a field, looks like. So yeah, a surprise for sure. But overall, the mesoscale details, we had a little bit of a spin there and some low-level instability. Wasn't really a shock, but definitely was not an overall, environment that would scream tornadoes for sure.
No.
There's also a third tornado further south near Muncie that was considered a land spout, which is still a tornado, just much weaker type of tornado. Do you guys think that marginal risk is going to push up into southern Monroe County? It's possible, but I would like to see more confidence in the models and stuff like that before they do that. It's going to depend on the load track exactly. Caleb and I were talking about this earlier. These low pressure systems that deepen, like this one is going to deepen, they like to pull north. And when they pull north, they could pull that, we're going to call it more unstable air further north with it. So it's going to depend exactly when and where and how far it pulls north to see, how South Michigan's going to fare. Overall, again, not too concerned for it, but I wouldn't rule that marginal being brought north. I wouldn't rule that out just yet.
How much rain is coming from us from the hurricane? Too early to know on that yet, Kathy. Here in the next couple of days, we'll get a better idea on where that's going to track. Right now, it is still developing, moving out of the Caribbean into the Gulf of Mexico. So still a lot of time with that. Once it makes landfall, models to get a better idea of how that's going to track and what factors are there for that. But hopefully we see a little bit of rain from it. I know a lot of areas in the Ohio Valley, Lower Great Lakes region are pretty dry. So hopefully we'll see some rain for it personally. So
yeah, fingers are crossed. Yeah, Ohio, Indiana, especially Ohio, in an exceptional drought, a very severe drought down there. Historical drought, actually.
So any rain we can drought in West Virginia, I think, in state's history. So, or since the drought monitor has been created. So definitely not good there.
Any rain we can get out of this is going to be much helpful to the Midwest, especially the Great Lakes region. Where in Ohio is the tornado risk? Hold on, I can read that up for you. Give me 1 second.
Right now, mainly confined to central Ohio, maybe the northern fringes of Ohio, but that looks to say south of Michigan at this time. And it's not a high risk. I can't emphasize that enough. We're not expecting anything like a tornado outbreak or anything like that. There's just enough low-level spin in the atmosphere that a couple storms could begin to rotate on the low levels. That's where that 2% risk comes from, just to cover those bases. But right now, we are not expecting a tornado outbreak at this time. If we do, we'll let you know. But right now, it's not looking likely at all. So,
no. And there's your 2% map there, basically from Akron down to Athens, over toward Dayton, over toward what looks to be Muncie, Indiana, up toward Fort Wayne, and then back over toward that Akron area.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Pretty sizable area there, but overall threat, like Hale just mentioned, it's not very high at all.
And timing on that looks to be mid-afternoon through evening. The severe risk does look like it'll lose some steam once we lose the sunlight. We lose that daytime heating factor. So I do not expect this threat to proceed into the overnight hours very long. So if that changes, we'll let you know. But right now, it looks to be a pretty short-lived risk through the afternoon hours.
Yeah, these are the storms they're kind of concerned about. You can see it here. I'll draw it. You can see these storms right here across Indiana and Ohio. As those push into Ohio, those are the ones to watch. This is at 5 p.m. tomorrow. There's 6 p.m., 7 p.m. Now notice how it's very, very close to Michigan border there. That's why we're concerned for those southern counties, southeast counties especially. But the bulk of the activity is definitely further into Ohio. So out of 3 weeks, you guys have not sent a single package from the wish list. So you guys are awful quiet. I was going to say we can always open some packages here, but don't have any to open. I did, however, for those of you who like the ducks, found this ginormous duck. And for size reference, here's the duck, the infamous duck from MSC. In comparison, it's very, very small. So got to figure out a good use for this bad boy.
Now, does it have a name yet, Ryan?
It does not have a name.
What do you guys think we should name it? Put your name suggestions in the chat. I want to see them.
Oh no.
What should we name the gigantuous duck?
And by the way, it has eyelashes. So I would
So does that make it a Mrs. Duck?
I think it does. It
Okay.
probably should be a Mrs. name. I don't know. It does not squeak either. Has there ever been a high risk or moderate risk in Michigan? Yes. The last high risk in Michigan, November 17th, 2013.
Yep.
The last moderate risk, I believe, was 2020, perhaps 21. I don't know the exact date. I know 2020 we had June 10th was a moderate risk in Michigan. We may have had one in 21 as well. Quackers, Stormy. You guys are giving the exact same name suggestions you gave the last one too. We'll have to have a duck naming stream sometime in the future to name this duck. Miss Waddles. I like Miss Waddles.
I don't know. Quackers is pretty good. You can put a Mr. or a Mrs. in front of Quackers. So, yeah.
See ya, Penny. Thanks for stopping by. Mrs. No Squeaks. That's not bad either.
If it didn't have eyelashes, I would just call it Frank, but I call everything Fred or Frank. So
we'll have to do a case study on the snowman you made, the Iceman you made that one night.
Oh, yeah.
We'll have to do a case study on that one. That'd be a good podcast story. We actually have a podcast starting up here October 2nd. So be live, sometimes pre-recorded, depending on the week. But we have a podcast coming for you guys to talk about weather, personal life, stuff like that. So that's coming. Stay tuned.
Yeah.
What's up, Ben? There was a moderate risk June 13th, 2022. Was that the day that they just barely placed Southwest Michigan in a moderate? And then that thing that they're expecting like a big derecho or something and it dove south? That might be that day.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, they started in like Wisconsin, Minnesota.
That was when Fort Wayne got hit.
Yeah, because I was chasing that night too.
I was too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was in Yoder, Indiana. I clocked 78 miles an hour there.
Yeah. And you had damage to the airport there, or close to the airport.
Yeah, airport had they're at Bear Field. They're in Fort Wayne, had a record wind gust there. I believe 98 miles an hour is what they recorded there on the ground.
Wow.
Blew in a hangar, too. Yeah, that was a crazy night.
Yeah, severe weather is going to be on the ramp down for the season. Not to say it's impossible between now and the end of the year, but we're definitely out of our active season. Most active season for us is typically May, June, July, August, typically. Sometimes a little bit earlier, a little bit after that. But, September, especially in October, November, it's going to be on a decline. So not too many more severe threats. Again, not saying it's zero, but very, very minimal chances through the end of the year.
Yep.
Do we know the highest?
Any other questions you guys have here? Oh, sorry, Ryan.
No, you're all good. Jess asked, do we know the highest recorded wind speed in Michigan? I don't know that off the top of my head. Oh, Caleb's going to bring up his old Google and see if he can figure it out.
I'll get back with you on that.
I'm sure we can find it. If not here on stream, we can always talk in the moderator chat. So we'll get back to you, Jess, at some point. Thunderduck, that name's already taken. This bad boy back here is named Thunderduck.
All right, Jazz, got an answer for you. So the highest wind speed recorded in Michigan was May 31st, 1998. That was a derecho that topped 130 miles per hour in Ottawa County in western Lower Michigan.
I should have known that.
Yeah, that was a pretty big event there. I believe there was a meteor tsunami there with that as well as across the lake. That was a pretty big event.
That was one of Michigan's biggest severe events. I might be good to do a case study on that one, Caleb.
We should. Over 130 miles an hour. That's almost hard to believe in a derecho. That's crazy. Glad we don't get too many of those up here.
Oh, nope. Talk more about meteor tsunamis. We can
do a series on that if you want.
Yeah, we can do a lot.
Really, long story short, a meteor tsunami, unlike a tsunami in the ocean where it's caused by a landslide or an earthquake, a meteor tsunami happens over lakes, and that's caused as a squall line or a storm is displacing the water out ahead of it from a gust front. That outward motion of the wind pushes the water like almost like sloshing water in a bathtub, to where it's very similar to storm surge. On how the wind protruding out from a thunderstorm or a squall line pushes that water to the shore. You can have that sloshing, and you can have that water inundating beaches. You can have it flooding yards, beach erosion, stuff like that.
Very cool to witness, that's for sure.
Yeah. Yep.
That's like a bucket list item, kind of like chasing a hurricane would be.
You can actually watch lake models after a meteor tsunami occurs, and you can actually see the ripple effect on the lake, just like a bathtub, to where the meteor tsunami will actually slosh back and forth a little bit before it settles down. It's actually really cool to watch. They're actually fairly common, about once a year or so. Not all of them are significant. Not all of them cause damage, but a lot of buoys pick them up, so they are pretty cool. Any other questions you guys have before we
Yeah, meteor tsunamis are actually a little bit more common on the Great Lakes than you may think.
Mm-hmm.
Some sources state we have like 20 or 30 per year. Obviously, like Caleb just mentioned, not every single one of those is going to be impactful. You may not even notice much of anything, but the bigger ones definitely can be noticed. It's very, very, very cool event to witness. What does Pippi think of the ducks? Pippi has no comment. No comment on the ducks.
Yeah, for example, on just how big meteor tsunamis can be. This was an event in 1954. This was actually impacted the Chicagoland area just to our southwest, where the water rose in an order of 10 to 20 feet, resulting in multiple fatalities in Chicagoland. And that was from an MCS event. So, yeah, meteor tsunamis can get very large if you get the right conditions. But not all of them are that large. Most of them are just a matter of a foot or two or less. So, but yeah, pretty cool stuff.
What's up, Andy? 1 + 1 equals 3.
You're wrong.
Which models are preferred for looking at hurricanes? Caleb, correct me if I'm wrong, but more global models, Euro, ensembles, GFS. There's also a few, I believe the GRAF model is a big one they use as well. There's some models that are better at hurricanes. It all really depends on the situation, kind of like mesoscale models like the ARRR and the NAM as well. But mostly I would lean more toward the global models for Hurricane, GFS,
Yeah.
Euro, Icon, CMC.
I use a blend of all the above. Um, I don't necessarily have one preferred model over another, just because with hurricanes, it's all about the trend. So I'm using a good blend of model will give you a good general idea of what the atmosphere is going to do, what the environment it is that that storm is or system is going to be moving into. So
Right. A lot of you'll see a term if you follow weather closely called the spaghetti model. That's all the ensembles are all the models on one thing going all which one direction.
mm-hmm.
So that's kind of what you go off of. And like Caleb just mentioned, a lot of it has to do with trends as well. Not just one model run or one model, is better, but overall what models are shifting, which direction, are the majority shifting, is a minority shifting, stuff like that.
And the model is only as good as the data that it has to work with too, or the data that it's entered in. So
Correct.
Some you get bad runs too.
Any other questions, guys? Has there ever been a flash flood emergency in Michigan? Again, I don't know. I don't think so. Flash flood warnings, yes. Emergencies, I do not believe so.
And one of the reasons for that is here in Michigan is our terrain. Flash flood emergencies are generally, you see them most commonly in mountainous terrains, as when you get heavy rainfall, all that water has nowhere to go but down into the gullies. That's where you get your rapid rises in water. Here in Michigan, our soils are very sandy in places, and we don't have a lot of mountainous terrain. There's some hills, especially in the north, but generally the soil can hold that excess of water, so you're not generally getting your rapid rises in water. Now, can you get flash floods? Absolutely. A lot of times that occurs on back roads, especially during heavy rain events when the soil can't absorb that water coming down. But flash flood emergencies are generally very rare to see in the Midwest and Great Lakes region. Now, has Michigan ever had one? I'd have to do some research on that. I'm not sure. But flash flood warnings happen every year.
What are the best winter models? Much the same, Cyndaquil.
Yeah.
Global models, GFS, Euro are the two main ones. We use mesoscale models as well, like the HRRR, NAM3. But again, trend is your friend, is a saying in weather.
Yeah. And a lot of it has to do with time frame too. If we're looking at an event that's a week out or longer, we're on your global models, your more long-term models. We're looking for trends at that point in time. We can't make a forecast out of trends. As we move closer, maybe 3 to 5 days out, that's when we start to move to your short range models. And then as we're 2 to 3 days out, that's where we're into something called our numerical models. That's where we have the data available, and those short-term models allow us to analyze that data, and then we can start putting together a forecast as to, okay, this is what we have to work with, this is what we're limiting, let's make a forecast. That's kind of a synopsis of how that works.
Yep. Mike sent this in chat. May 20th, 2020, NWS issued a flash flood emergency for the Tittabawassee River in Midland County. Yep. I was actually up there a few days later surveying, or not really surveying, but checking that out. But yeah, that makes sense. Tomorrow, Angela, you should have some rain for you.
Yep.
After that, next chance will be the weekend, Saturday, Sunday, and that's not a slam dunk. Tomorrow is definitely some rain for you, but the weekend is not good. Not.
Yep.
The weekend is not the slam dunk. Last few years we had snowflakes on Halloween. Do you think that's going to happen again?
So, time will tell.
Yeah, time will tell. But actually, the first measurable snowfall in the lower peninsula, I'm not talking like flurries, I'm talking like accumulating 1 to 3 inch type events. I have a note behind me here of my guess for the first measurable snowfall of the year. December 3rd. We'll see how that holds out though. And again, I'm not talking about flurries. I'm not talking about just snowflakes. I'm talking like the measurable snowfall.
And it's not uncommon for the UP to see their first measurable snowfall in late October, early November. A lot of times you get those cold core lows that bring a brief shot of cold air getting below 32 degrees, and you can get a brief burst of lake effect snow. So, but it's too early to tell on that. So as we get closer, we'll start to see those trends in those systems start to peek their faces in the models. So.
Good old Red Dozer back again. He has not gone anywhere. One of our longtime generous donators. Thank you, Red, for your $50 super chat. You're much appreciated as always. Thank you, Red.
How many? So Freedom asked, how many of our pests and insects and arachnids will actually die during our winter this season? Well, that's a loaded question because we don't exactly know. It all depends on how cold we get this year. So a lot of those bugs and pest controls are dependent on how cold and how deep our frost layer gets in our soils. So the deeper and colder we can get for a long duration, the lower that frost point gets in our top layers of the soil. And so that's where a lot of your bugs are and insects are in the top 2 feet of your soil. So the colder we can get for a long duration, the more pest control, so to speak, we'll have. So hopefully we'll have a winter outlook here for you in the next couple of weeks. Still a lot of data to go over and to be analyzed, and a lot of data to come in yet as well. So we're still a ways off yet from that, but hopefully we'll have a brief outlook for you here in the coming weeks.
My hope is that we get a good die off because this year the bugs was incredibly.
As long as it kills the mosquitoes, I'm happy. So
spiders.
Well, they eat the mosquitoes.
But I can't do spiders.
As long as they're not in your house, right?
Me and you both know how that face says it all. I see Connor asking, can we see future radar again? Sure thing, Connor. HRRR for tomorrow. So we're going to have some rain starting perhaps as early as 4 or 5 in the morning. This model right here is at 4 a.m. And then as we get into the late morning hours, that rain will increase in coverage and intensity. And then mid-afternoon, early evening, perhaps some stronger storms working in to the Ohio border area. Okay.
But again, that afternoon is more a conditional risk. It's really dependent on what round one does and how that surface low tracks. So nothing set in stone yet. A more steady rain is likely in the early morning hours, becoming widely scattered in the afternoon. And dependent on if and how that low tracks northward, southern counties such as Lenawee County, southwest portions or southeast portions of Michigan could see perhaps a strong storm or two, but that is highly conditional. So nothing looking too widespread at the moment, but hopefully a decent shot of rain for you guys down there in the lower half of the LP.
Yeah, it probably will be as well for some of you guys. We talked about the rainfall earlier as well, where some people are going to get probably a tenth, maybe 2/10 of an inch. Other people might get a half inch. It's going to depend on if you can get into a heavier band or perhaps a storm that forms. So, yeah, highly conditional, Caitlin. Yeah, Julie has a good point. Takes out the ticks. We need to get the ticks out of here. That was a bad year for them up here.
Amen to that.
All right. Any other questions, guys? Yeah, Caitlin, that basically means that a lot of things have to come together to get severe weather. Conditional is basically just that. You have all these ingredients that have to come together just right to get severe weather. And it's not looking like they're going to come together. Conditional basically means they have to come together. They have to overcome something, basically.
There's more limiting factors tomorrow than what we have certainty. We talk about our slim, right? We have to have our shear, we have to have lift, we have to have moisture, and we have to have instability. Right now, we have what we have tomorrow. So we have moisture, we have plenty of that. Our lift is brought on by our surface low down to our southwest. That's going to be moving along and south of the Indiana-Michigan line. Depending on how deep that grows, will determine if that makes a north turnward or not. But something that we are missing tomorrow, we don't have a lot of. We don't have a significant amount of instability. That's instability allows us to know how strong our updrafts are going to get, how intense those storms can be. We just don't have a lot of that. That seems to remain south of the border at this time. And we also don't have a lot of wind shear. Storms need wind shear to help sustain themselves. That seems to be limited to our south, but even down there to the south is not overly impressive for a widespread severe event. So with that being said, a lot of factors are displaced or minimized. So that's a good thing. So nothing to worry about right now in terms of widespread severe weather. We're not seeing that. We're not forecasting that. If something were to change, we'll let you know. But as a recap, general rain showers tomorrow morning, and then tomorrow afternoon, if we get some daytime heating, maybe some rumbles of thunder. But I think your biggest risk in those thunderstorms are going to be heavy downpours, maybe some small hail, maybe peas. I don't really see anything larger than that. The tornado risk is very low. I would not worry about tornadoes tomorrow in southeast Michigan. If we have other factors come into play that suggest otherwise, we'll let you know. But right now, we're just not seeing that. So that's the general synopsis for tomorrow. Otherwise, enjoy the rainfall you guys get tomorrow. That'll be the last of the rain until the weekend. So enjoy that, and I hope you get some. Any other questions you guys have here?
Caleb, you have a message from Andy.
Yeah, thanks, Andy. Yeah, glad to be here. Glad to be here with you guys. Hopefully, I'll be able to hang out here with you guys more often, and look forward to being able to serve you guys. Appreciate the super chat.
And as well as thank you, Andy. Appreciate your generous support. All righty. I think we're about ready to wrap this up, Caleb.
Yeah. If you guys miss anything or want to go back, feel free to go back in the stream. You'll see what we covered there. Hopefully that'll answer any questions you guys have. And with that being said, I hope you guys have a wonderful evening. And always feel free, if you guys have any questions, hit us up, let us know. We'll be happy to answer those if we can. And hope you guys have a wonderful evening.
We'll see you guys next time here. Maybe tomorrow. Hopefully not tomorrow, but we'll see you. If not, next Sunday or Monday for our weekly live stream, and then for our podcast, October 2nd. So feel free to chime in and view as well. So Caleb said, have a good night, guys. Stay safe. We'll see you guys hopefully not tomorrow, but maybe tomorrow.
Take care.